Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla, and this day's going by really fast. It's pretty difficult to believe or process, which isn't the best sign, but I guess it's what I should expect at this point. Um, yeah, I don't know. Today's definitely going to be like a jam-packed day. It's probably going to be the most talking in a single day that I've ever done. That's pretty interesting. Don't you think that's kind of an interesting little stat there? It probably will be. I'm serious. I mean, and it's a shame that it's being captured on such a, what I see as like a inconsequential or potentially even a lame moment, like a moment that's kind of like there's not really too much to capture, or there's not really much of a point in capturing things right now. It's just kind of like, you know. I mean, you can even tell I'm not even talking really loud. I know it's better for me to talk louder when I'm outside, and I was doing that before, but yeah, I don't really have too much to say or to mention. It's just kind of that symptom of time going by too quickly. I wonder what really caused it and when it's going to stop, but I'm kind of afraid that actually the older I get, the more and more time feels smaller and smaller. And that has its pros and cons. You know, I'm not really bored very often, honestly. Like to say the truth, if I try to think back, I guess I used to feel more bored. I don't really feel bored anymore. You know, because I'm almost able to entertain myself a little bit too well, I think. Like being able to do these walks with Schla, and it creates a bit of a gap between me and my peers, I guess, because other people, you know, they have to look to things, they have to look to like activities to do, and this kind of is that, I guess. Like you could say it's a hobby, and it's, you know, it's something that I do, but it's also kind of like uh it also is just like self-entertainment. I mean, the only external thing is the fact that I'm recording it on a microphone, but if you don't count that, like I'm not really using a phone. You know what I mean? Like right now, I'm not I'm not engaging with some external thing, some external entity, which I guess to me that's like the interesting part, right? Cuz it's, yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I just don't think that many people are able to be that content with themselves. I mean, it's been like that, and I've always kind of had that weird dichotomy. I think I'm using that word correctly, dichotomy, where it's like, I mean, I'm like, I like myself to some degree. I like to be alone, but I really don't. Like, I like other people, and I think it's just a constant struggle of not spending enough time with other people, but more specifically, not really being able to get quality time with other people. And it definitely happened more when I was younger, because when I was younger, I don't think I was as intelligent. Or as serious. So when the younger I was, like the easier it was. But then like I keep maturing, and I feel like my brain keeps developing, and my character keeps developing and changing. And then like I look around at other people, and to me at least, like from my perspective, it feels like not much really happens with other people. Like They don't really figure too much out. My family might be a little bit different in that regard. It does kind of seem like they're a little more like, I don't know, changing. But a lot of people, man, it just seems like they don't really change. And maybe that's a perspective issue. Maybe it's because people just don't really reveal as much. But I think there is a genuine truth that many people just don't really seem to care or be too fazed by things in the same way I am, interested in I'm interested in things. I want to try to figure things out. Like there's always kind of that element to myself, and there always has been. And so I've grown a lot, but I guess I've started from kind of like a odd place. But I think if my ideas or principles were just more standard, I don't know that I would have had a lot of the issues that I had, or at least also you could, like, my experiences in life could have been different, because I think the environments I was put in shaped me in a very odd way, just like the things I experienced and whatnot. But yeah, it's so weird, because I feel weird about like the complaints I have and stuff. I know people have it so much worse than I do, and I am grateful for my life, but again, for a while it seemed very painful and isolating. That's just the truth of it. Painful and isolating, but I probably could have been doing this the whole time and it would have been good, but at the time I didn't believe in it. I guess I would have, and I think I've said this before, I don't believe in the whole like YouTuber streamer thing because it's not a good thing. Like I see the effect it has. It just creates more inequality, and that was like when I was talking to an adult about it, I was trying to explain that, and he like jumped in with, oh, there's a lot of people making a lot of money through the internet, kind of like missing the point I was making, like, because that's not even true. There isn't really a lot of people making money on the internet. And I don't know, I'm tired of all like the businessy kind of stuff. I think we've seen how much like business just kind of destroys people, and it's like it's all a bunch of like, oh, how can we manipulate people to spend more money and like provide them a service that they're gonna like, and blah blah. And there's all this like strategizing. Can't believe I just said strategizing. It's strategizing that goes on, but it's like, for what? I mean, I just don't even get what the point is. Like, that's not, and I don't see proof that has forged humanity in a more positive direction. For example, restaurants. I don't think so. I just don't think so. Like, because you think about, I guess what I'm talking about is like the really pro-business, like, oh, business is productive, and pro-capitalism, like really pro-competition, but like most businesses don't even have any type of progress. Like there's not any business that actually generates any kind of human progress besides a minority percentage of the economy. Like it's only science companies and technology companies, and that's like basically it in terms of improvement to human life. Like if you think of a food store is fundamentally unchanged, has been fundamentally unchanged for like multiple decades. There's absolutely no progress. If anything, there's less progress because presumably more businesses now try to be even more like rip-offy, if that makes sense, like more scammy. There's a lot more businesses that, again, it's like more about selling it to you as opposed to what the actual product actually is. Um, and this is all like a disaster. I mean, it started off fairly innocently. It started off as like, oh yeah, they jack up the margins on drinks at restaurants. But then the end game of it now is like, now you get bombarded with hyper personalized ads, and it's difficult to resist them. And they're things that like are much less necessary. But I mean, even in the case of drinks, it's not healthy. You know, like it's like a restaurant gets to have a really high margin on Coca-Cola, and then they sell it to people, and it says, oh well, people choose it, people choose to do it, it's not nobody for it. But it's like, come on, you know, if you put a human in a box and you give them a bunch of vegetables or a jar of cookies, they're gonna pick the cookies. Like, why would you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you gave them poor education about it. Now, I guess to expand that experiment, I mean, yes, even with all equal education, though, if you put like 10 different humans in 10 different boxes and you gave them, you know, really good tasting food that's unhealthy versus healthy food that doesn't taste like as good, a human would likely, you know, instinctively pick the unhealthy food. And I don't know, like that we're kind of seeing that play out. Like, most humans are not eating healthy in America. So what that means is not that, oh well, who cares about them. What it means is that now we know a thing about the human condition, that our autonomy is bad, and so it's going to have to get compromised. Now, maybe not everybody's autonomy, but it's very clear that like having a government based around freedom and, you know, just based around, oh well, you know, it's up to an own person's destiny where they fall, and, you know, the government's just getting in the way of that. We can see that just is completely, I mean, it's romanticizing something that overall has a negative outcome for humanity. I mean, just doesn't make any sense. It literally makes no sense. All these things that are like, you know, gambling, and none of this is conducive to a good society. And now it's like becoming very commonplace and super normalized, and nobody really has any like qualms about it. But yeah, it's sad. I think it's like really a shame. And it's more isolated. Like, I feel like the more older I grow, the more I realize like nobody would really listen to me, because I have too many ideas that probably step on too many toes in like different ways, because I'm really not trying to subscribe to like a political mindset. And I think most people do. Like, they have a tribe, and each tribe usually has some false perspectives, some correct perspectives. I'm trying to cut through all of that, and you notice like a lot of people just they're not there. I think part of that's probably intentional. There's probably an intentionality to being like to like fracturing up the truth in some way, in terms of the way it's like presented. I don't know, right? To kind of like keep people arguing and distracted while the powers that be or whatever just keep continuing to get away with everything. I think that's a good way to describe it. But yeah, I mean, I just don't understand really the argument for any of that stuff. And I think a lot of people too, when they talk about freedom or capitalism, it's like they're reminiscing on a time where it was actually far less free. Like, the past, you were not really that free. There were much more, I think, like social standards and expectations and things like that. So you couldn't really just like for example, dress however you wanted to dress or speak however you wanted to speak with whatever language you want. Whereas nowadays, all that's basically fine. I mean, I don't even think any of that stuff matters anymore. Like, nobody cares what you wear. Nobody cares how you talk. So we're like, freedom it's an extremely modern idea. Or actually, you know what? It's a regressive idea. So I guess when I said modern, I mean it's like the coming back around. I mean, and I've tried to explain this before with, what is civility? And I think the truth is you can have good order and you can have evil order, right? So you can have somebody who's good and implements good rules and has good ideas and is good, and they're, effective at leading and carrying out those plans. And you can obviously also have somebody who is intentionally evil and has intentionally evil plans and whatnot. When you remove civility or order from the situation, you just have chaos. And I think there's a very small amount of chaos good that exists. I really think it just doesn't really happen. Usually chaos promotes, or, in this case, freedom, it promotes a lower nature, typically. Like, chaos or more freedom or a lack of rules, it's going to skew things towards evil. Just inherently, it seems to be the case. It seems to be the case that if you look at less civil societies, then it was more, there was less progress, things were harsher, things were worse, right? So progress is really only found through order, but evil can also be found through order. But like this idea that we're going to be more free and that something's, I mean, it probably comes down to humans like pretty poor ability to quantify things, see things in a quantitative way. Like that's really the root of the problem, is because people, like, they can't really break things down the way I do. So I think they just see it as like freedom really sounds good because like you want to be free to do whatever you want, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like if you think about, well, if you're going to have freedom, you could end up making bad decisions that actually, negatively impact people that and then it's like, oh, right, or negatively impact yourself. Well, why wouldn't we just take that part of the autonomy out of the question? I mean, and again, hypothetically, if you just had everybody implemented with a neurallink and you basically enforced, had like a hyper surveillance, like hyper enforced kind of society, and you just restrict it. You can keep things that are neutral. People are allowed to have their favorite color because that doesn't matter, or their favorite style maybe. The things that are neutral or the things that are positive, but you just restrict and punish the things that have a negative outcome, such as like gambling or jealousy or, right? I mean, these like various lesser traits that humans tend to care so much about, that's like, I guess that's what you have to deal with. And you could just strip that section of the autonomy out. So people can still have personality. They can be different from one another, and we can still have a variety and a diverse human species. Just that we can just eliminate any negative trait from the human conscious. And I don't understand why this isn't just an optimal thing. And yeah, of course, it's a huge compromise in freedom, but morally, it's a huge victory. It's a massive victory in terms of the amount of people who would be healthier and happier, because a lot of these things, like, it's just a matter of people being exposed to it. I mean, you could argue, I guess you can argue, though, it's like, do people even deserve it, though, if they're gonna just, yeah, I don't know, it's tough to say, because I still feel like anybody could really succumb to any of these addictions. It's just, you don't see that manifest because you do have certain people have better, like, outcomes. I mean, you have people with so much better environments that they would just never even get the addictions. And that's, like, seriously the truth of it, I think. I don't know. Some people like to claim, oh, well, some of these people, man, they're just evil from their heart. I just don't see that much evidence of that. I don't know. I think it's like the same kind of thing where I think all people, well, no. I mean, it is a person. I think it's a mixture of both, right? I mean, as with anything, really. But I do think environment is such a huge factor. But there is obviously, like, a soul level thing. But we don't have enough experimentation to see that, like, if you could take some of the most evil people and then, like, put them in a perfect environment and, like, how they would turn out. Because that's such a hard thing to quantify and, like, experiment on. But I wouldn't be surprised if environment would really swing things in a huge way. But the way it is now is everybody has such a dramatically different environment. And again, the environment we're in is treacherous to get through. And it's just a bunch of, like, greedy stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. It's different too. I think it's a generational thing and a perspective difference and stuff like that. I see a lot of things as being evil that I think a lot of people doesn't really register with them as being evil. But I know kind of the truth of it, that I think at its core, competition is only beneficial in a short temporary sense, and it gives the illusion that it's good. But working together will inevitably be a better path than competition. Well, and it depends too on the median intelligence, because some people need competition to distract themselves, I guess. Anyway, I'm out of time, guys. Sorry. It's been slow and 7 5 slow, so see you slow.